Hello everybody, and welcome back to the A-Side. I am your host, Riley, and it's been a while since we've done a full album reaction, but I feel that right now is a special occasion because for the first time in 8 years, legendary Britpop band Blur has put out a new record entitled The Ballad of Darren, which almost makes it sound like it's a concept record. It's been a while since Blur have put out a new album, of course fronted by the legendary Damon Albarn, who's done so much more outside of Blur, legendary in his own right, including Gorillaz, which I've covered many times on this channel before. Being one of my favorite bands, I gave Song Machine Season 1 a 10 out of 10, and I stand by that score. As far as Blur goes, though, I have not heard all of their discography, but I have heard a few records. I've heard their debut, Leisure, which is a dreamy indie pop album. Nothing super out of the ordinary, but one I still enjoy. I have heard their record, 13, which everyone absolutely loves. I thought it was okay. Couldn't really get into it. I've heard it like 2 times. But of course, then there's the classic Park Life, which is just loaded with amazing songs. Of course, the title track, the danceable Girls and Boys, my favorite song on the record, Bad Head, the banger Message Center, London Loves, the emotional Clover Over Dover, and so many more. The End of the World, End of the Century, I'm sorry. So many great songs on that record. And we're here with a new album to listen to, and they released 2 singles beforehand, the first being Narcissist, which is one of my favorite songs of the year. It brings out that melancholy that I feel like Damon Albarn is so good at evoking. Take some stuff off of like Plastic Beach, or even like Bad Head. It kind of brings out that certain like melancholy that I really love from Damon Albarn's songwriting. One of my favorite songs of the year. And then also St. Charles Square, which almost felt like, I can't think of the word right now, but it felt like a very crowded song, very cluttered, like a collage of sorts of different things, and I didn't really care for it. I only listened to it like once or twice because I didn't love it, but hey, maybe I'll really like it this time. Also, before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later if you want. And finally, before we get into it, I actually have a new rating scale for songs. It's not too dissimilar from the one it used to be. If it's good, I give it the green folder, but a newer one, not so beat up. If it's bad, I give it the red notebook. This is the notebook I used reading War and Peace. And if it's just okay or meh, I'll give it the gray pencil case here. Anyway, I've talked long enough. Let's listen to this record. Starting off with the first song, The Ballad. It's got a Gorillaz vibe, right? Immediately, it's got a Gorillaz vibe. And something I really praised Damon Albarn for before when talking about his last solo record was how it really felt like he could separate his different bands and different projects so well, because like Gorillaz didn't sound like Blur, and Blur didn't sound like The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, and The Good and Bad, the Queen didn't sound like his solo stuff. But right off the bat with these drum machines, it sounds very Gorillaz-esque. It sounds like the Now Now. Immediately, I love this, right? The harmonies and the background vocals, the, once again, super melancholic, kind of weepy, downtrodden thing that Damon Albarn does just really gets to me. I think on the best Gorillaz moments and the best Blur moments and the best of his solo moments is that kind of sad, melancholy introspection that Damon does so well. And it's really on full blast here. Like you. And how pretty and dreamy it is with those guitars there. I fell in love with you. I met you. This is just euphoric. It's beautiful. And those harmonies there, so pretty, the vocal layering. Oh. Those strings were amazing. This record really feels like summertime sadness so far. And I'm not talking about the Lana Del Rey song. I mean the feeling of just being sad in the summertime. It's got like this washed out kind of feeling to it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it feels like kind of like sitting by the beach in the warmth of the sun beating down on you and the waves crashing at your feet. Yet you can't have fun. You're kind of sitting there and thinking about the past or looking within yourself with this kind of sadness. It's beautiful. The shimmering strings, the beautiful vocal layering, the melancholy vocals, and everything else. The nuanced guitars. It's amazingly made.
When the ballad comes for you, it comes lightly. Up close, I fell in love with you. I met you at
This is so gorgeous. Right there, it almost feels like they're taking a bit of inspiration from what Arctic Monkeys have been doing on Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, and the car that kind of da-da-da-da-da with, like, the piano, like, xylophone, like, I'm not quite sure what it was. But it felt very similar to that, both, like, the progression and the sound, and also the way it kind of is more of a dreamy, stringy, kind of loungy, chill album. I know Damon Albarn very recently was like, Arctic Monkeys were the last great rock band, right? So it would make a lot of sense if they pulled a lot of inspiration from those two records. And if you remember correctly, I adored the car, so I'm going to probably adore this album. That part, that's very Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. But these strings are gorgeous, right? And then the guitar here, super chill and brazy in a way. So the ballad is an amazing opener that really swept me away the whole time, with gorgeous shimmering strings, nuanced breezy guitar, so much vocal layering that was gorgeous, and of course Damon whipping out the melancholy vocals as he does the best. Really, this is just, I think, to the heart of what Damon Albarn does best. It doesn't necessarily feel like Blur. Right? Like, I wouldn't hear this and be like, oh yeah, Park Life, or She's So High, right? Like, I wouldn't connect this with that. But it's still really good. Like, it feels very Damon Albarn. Definitely, like, more so modern Damon than Blur. Still amazing, though. Track 2, St. Charles Square. Oh, obviously, the green. I adored it. Track 2, St. Charles Square, which I didn't like, but maybe I'll like more this time. See, definitely more Blur, right? It's got, like, the kind of almost playful-ish guitars, and it's got some, like, acoustic to back it up. This song feels very much more like Blur. The guitar is very hectic, though, and hectic in a way that kind of stresses me out. Like, it's not pleasant to listen to, especially following up something so beautiful as the ballad. This song is immediately, like, kind of putting me off a bit with just how hectic. Like, the last song was so beautiful and smooth, now this one is, like, so, like, in-your-face, distorted, and messed up. It's very, I don't know, it's just chaotic.
up. I'm not the first to do it. Must forgo now. Your smile.
And I really don't care for Damon's vocals here much either. Like, they're not meshing with the sound. Like, they're not. They almost feel like they're on different keys. Yeah, see, it just, that was, like, tacky, that was weird, like, what was that? Why was that there? It's just like, ah! It's got a very American feel to it, too. The duh, 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 duh. It just feels very, like, American to me, which a band being so, like, quintessentially British, like... I feel like parts of the song really have roots in a bygone era of rock music, which some might find very charming and nostalgic, but I find to just be tired and overdone.
Tesco disco, the room is shrinking fast around me. It grabbed me by the ankle and pulled me under.
So the lyrics are kind of interesting on that song. Wondering if this is a concept album, right? The Ballad of Darren. Maybe Darren killed Polly, is what I'm getting from the lyrics of this song. Because this one has lyrics. So some of the, like, lyrics make it sound like Darren killed Polly, right? Polly's ghost come back to haunt me. And it's kind of like a telltale heart situation here. Where, like, under the floorboards, like, you can hear, like, stuff going on. He's, like, getting weird vibes under the floorboards. Like Telltale Heart, you can hear the heart beating of the guy he murdered. So it's like he's feeling like that paranoia and that guilt is like a ghost haunting him. A monkey on his back. Whether it's literally about a murder or about guilt, paranoia, anxiety, etc. Interesting lyricism, but I did not like the sound of the song. It just sounded like it was very hectic, which makes sense, I guess, for the concept of the song, but it's just not pleasant to listen to, if you know what I mean. So I get it from an artistic standpoint and appreciate it from that standpoint, but as a listener, it's not something I'm currently vibing with, but it might grow on me. So that's why I'm going to give it the meh, because, like, artistically, I get it, right? And it's doing some really cool things, and it's putting, like, the sound and the lyrics together in an interesting way, but I don't really super care for that sound, and also don't super care for Damon's vocal performance. Anyway, next song, Barbaric. Super Gorillas. It reminds me of a song immediately off the Now Now. What is it? I can't think of it right now, but it reminds me of one of the songs off the Now Now. It's like the fourth song, I think. So the bass is great, and those guitars are so sweet off the bat.
Who blinked first? You're gonna win. The fallen dubs of lovers' vows in the world.
He's doing it again. That gets me so much. The melancholy.
I'd like if you got the time to talk to you about what this breakup has done to me. I have lost the feeling that I thought I'd never lose. Now where am I going?
This song's really sweet. Sweet sounding.
Feeling that I thought I'd lose. Now where are you going, darling? At what cost? The feeling that you thought you'd never lose. It is barbaric. Empty grove, winter, which leads me to the part where we agreed on different dreams.
I like that lyric, which leads me to the part where we agreed on different dreams. And I'm really liking Damon's, like, vocal performance here is hitting some of those low notes. It's got that melancholy. It's got a super sweet sound to it. To me, the song feels like two people kind of growing apart, like falling out of love. You know, the feeling that you thought you'd never lose. Kind of two people who are kind of at the outs and have different like outlooks on life who just kind of part. And I like that. I like the way it's written about here. I like the keyboard too. That's nice in the background. Very 60s, very zombies. The strings come back here and are absolutely gorgeous. Now I wonder, maybe I was off with the murder thing on St. Charles Square. I'm curious if maybe the Telltale Heart thing was maybe a bit of like a red herring, and that it's more so metaphorical, the ghost, as this lost love, because the ballad was like about meeting this person. St. Charles Square is about like the memory of them, and like you see like you get the weird vibes under the floorboards because those weird vibes are like you thinking about this person. Not necessarily the guilt, but the sadness and the thought of them, like on the haunting you like a ghost. The ghost of Polly, right? Polly's not dead, it's her memories, like the memories of you and her together. And then Barbaric, it's about, like, pulling apart, right? So maybe this is almost like a character study of a man during a breakup, right? So now we get to Barbaric, which is about them pulling apart and, like, not being together, and he sees it as, like, a bad thing. Like, how could this happen? Like, we thought we'd never do this, and it's, like, wild. Or maybe there's not a concept at all. Maybe I'm just crazy. A record with a name like The Ballad of Darren sounds like something that would be a concept record. Anyway, I give that the green. Next track, Russian Strings. I'm excited for this one. I'm curious if this will be an anti-war song. This really heavily has that lounge feel, right? Those drums sound lifted straight off of Tranquility Base Hotel Casino. And the piano, kind of man singing at a piano, whatever. And the bass, it sounds very like Tranquility Base. And this guitar is almost Beatle-esque, right? Super pretty though, kind of psych almost. Ooh, that took a dark turn. The way that took such a dark turn to then immediately go into like the piano, like ding, back into something bright was so cool. And then these guitar like parts right here. That's so neat. I just love the rhythm of those guitars, the sound. It almost feels sticky, but not sticky in the way that it's like catchy, just like it really sticks. I don't know how to describe it, but it sounds what sticky feels like, which might make not any sense, but I like it. I mean, Damon is nailing the vocal performance here, right? This is exactly what I want from a Damon Albarn track in 2023. This is so beautiful.
in the end only does. So turn the music up. I'm hitting the hard stuff. Flew to Belgrade, stayed in a hotel, sinking. Went to museum, tobacco and midweek, grave digger.
So the Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino and Arctic Monkey comparisons are definitely there, and not something I'm just making up, because James Ellis Ford has produced this record, or at least most of the songs on it, as far as I know, as far as Genius is telling me. And he also produced a bunch of Arctic Monkey songs and a bunch of the stuff on Tranquility Base, like 4 out of 5 and the world's first ever monster truck front flip. He also did like Body Paint. So that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that song had great guitar work. So I'm going to give that the green. I enjoyed Russian Strings a lot. Lyrically, it almost seems like a kind of like YOLO kind of thing, right? Like, there's nothing fake on Earth. There's strings attached to all of us. There's nothing in the end, only dust. So turn the music up. I'm hitting the hard stuff, right? Like, there's nothing left for me to live for on one hand, and also like there is no purpose, there is no meaning. There's nothing fake on Earth, but then in the end there's only dust. Like, nothing really matters. So like, make connections, love, party, have fun, do what you want, you know, say fuck it, fly to a new place, stay in a hotel, go to a museum, smoke tobacco, you know. That's the vibe I'm getting. I like that, but it's got such like a melancholy vibe to it, which is really interesting. It's not like a turn-up party song, so that almost makes it feel more like life is meaningless, like there's nothing left for me, so turn the music up, buddy, I'm gonna hit the hard stuff, you know? Like an anthem of like almost giving up in a way and just giving in to life, and it's interesting. Anyway, the Everglades for Leonard.
You of grace, many ghosts alive in my mind.
This sounds like the Gorillaz again. It sounds like Idaho from the song I was talking about before, by the way, was Trans, but this sounds like Idaho from the Now Now. It's pretty though. I like the guitar a lot. It's almost like a more like plasticized Elliott Smith.
Many times I thought I'd break, 'cause in kind it seems to be way beyond the bed.
Radiohead reference?
There be songs to play.
There are those like weirdly beachy drum machines,
There be grace.
which once again really brings those feelings of you're at the beach but too sad. That's what Fantano said about the Now Now. You're at the beach but too sad to enjoy it. That's the vibe I got from the Now Now on a lot of this record too. Especially these like slowed down islandy drum machines.
To us. Why everything in this world been lost ever since? And we're
So the first half of the song really wasn't doing it for me, right? It was, like I said, a plasticized Elliott Smith, but the more it went on, the more it kind of got to be too plasticized and too, like, sleek and overproduced. But now as the song goes on and the strings swell and the drum machines come in. It really fills out and becomes something very pretty.
We're not giving in. We're not gonna shy away. We're growing tall with the pain.
These guitars are somewhere in between Beach, Beatles, and Elliott Smith. They really seem a little Beatley, but also in their downtroddenness seem very Elliott Smith. But then the actual, like, chord progression and, like, rhythm of the guitars, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like, speeding that up is, like, kind of, like, islandy and fun. But then slowing it down gives it this, like, really sad, like, introspective, like, sitting on the beach but you're, like, crying vibe. Oh, it's so cool. So this song to me seems like it's about trying to find meaning in sadness. Right? Like, it starts off, you of grace, many ghosts alive in my mind. Many paths I wish I'd taken, many times thought I'd break. Like, thinking about the past, thinking about the many ghosts alive in my mind, bad memories, many paths I wish I'd taken, all the regret in life, many times thought I'd break, thinking about, like, when he was right at the edge. Because in kind, it seems to be a way beyond the bends. There be songs to play, there be grace for everyone, and calmer days will arrive, and we would not need to ask. So searching for a meaning in life despite your sadness. Like a moral journey. Why everything in this world been lost ever since. So ever since all these sadness, you're getting older and you've lost the meaning. Like, it doesn't mean anything to you anymore. And we're not giving in, so you're not killing yourself. We're not going to shy away. You're going to keep going. We're going tall with the pain. We're searching the everglades, pursuing God with change, and furthermore, I think it's just too late. So I'm curious if it's you're searching for meaning, whether that meaning is literally God, like religion, and salvation, talking up here about there be grace for everyone's and calmer days arrive and we would not need to ask. So dying, going to heaven, being saved by Christ, right? Not needing to ask because the love of God and the love of Christ brings you, like, to this place, like, where there is grace and calmness, grace for everyone being saved. And then he talks about pursuing God with change, trying to live a more righteous and just and, like, Christian life, right? And then at the end, and furthermore, I think it's just too late. Like, the cynicism takes over and he just gives up at the last minute, which is interesting narratively to see this roller coaster go up and down of this person having sadness and looking for some kind of meaning, whether it be God, religion, or something else, and then at the end, giving in and giving up. Very fascinating, very interestingly written, and maybe I'm looking into it too much, but I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, that gets the green. I'm not trying to proselytize or anything, of course. I'm simply just trying to figure out what everything means upon first listen. And I am Socrates on this one, on my opinion and what I'm saying, because I don't know anything. Nobody really knows anything for sure, right? Philosophically speaking. Anyone who says they know something for sure is lying, right? Nobody knows anything, and it makes you wisest to know you don't know anything. So I don't know anything. Don't take anything I say seriously. Build an opinion for yourself, how my opinion could change for tomorrow, right? I could hate this record tomorrow. Anyway, track 6, The Narcissist. I already love this song.
Looked in the mirror, so many people standing there. I walked towards them, into the floodlight.
So beautiful, right? The guitars here are wonderful. They set a mood, and then Damon immediately comes in with just these melancholy, sad vocals that I've been talking about through the entirety of the record. And I probably sound like a bit of a broken record, but it's just so good. It's just so well done. And unlike some of the other songs too, I feel like this one, while having this melancholy, still remains very Blur. A lot of these other songs have started to feel like glorified Damon Albarn solo songs, whereas this one still feels very rooted in the band.
I heard no echo.
No echo. See, because you've got the other band members singing too, which really roots it into Blur. It's also just really pretty. I love they like step up in the pitch.
Found my transcendence. It played in mono painted blue. You were the hero. I was the dark room. I'm the shining light in your eye. You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time.
Love the guitar there.
Your heedless sign.
Now, looking back into more of this project, going deeper in the lyricism, right? The idea of getting your heart broken, being haunted by the memories, you two parting ways, and then beginning to look for meaning. Is this song the meaning? Because it has more of a triumphant feel to it. But I won't fall this time with Godspeed. I'll heed the signs. I'm going to shine a light in your eyes. You'll probably shine it back on me. Is this finding meaning maybe in another person? But the name The Narcissist is interesting. And I love the guitar here. And the way it's surrounded by these very slight buzzy synths. I also love the line, I'm a shine a light in your eyes, you'll probably shine it back on me.
I took the acid under the white horses. My heart it quicker. I could not tear myself.
I think just sentiment and emotion alone in this song, not even understanding the lyrics, is amazing. It's palpable. You can feel what it's about without actually understanding the content of the lyrics, and that's what makes an amazing song.
You probably shine it back on me, but I won't fall this time with Godspeed.
And that guitar work is gorgeous, right? Throughout the entirety of the song. Like I said, it's a very pretty kind of melancholy song, but still is very rooted in Blur.
Glorious world. All pulled away, valleys gone wild. Connect us to love and keep us peaceful for a while.
Right, because this really feels like finding meaning. Or finding beauty in a dark world. Oh, glorious world. Oh, potent wave. Valleys gone wild. Connect us to love and keep us peaceful for a while. Very potent. Very beautiful. And it seems to me like I said, finding that meaning. Finding the beauty in the world. And finding like a reason to exist. And a reason to go on. Because the world is glorious. There are beautiful waves and wild valleys, and they connect us to love. And in the end, that's the meaning of life, right? Loving your fellow neighbor, loving the world around you, loving each other. And that's what brings us to peace. It's the nature. It's the world in front of us as it is. Interesting.
I'm a shining light in your eye.
While being melancholy has a very positive message, and I like that a lot. And at the end, it's just so, like, overwhelming and beautiful. It all just layers on top of each other and just waves over you, right? So I'm curious if this song is about maybe leaving narcissism behind and, like, taking yourself into accountability, right? Looked in the mirror, so many people standing there. I walk toward them into floodlights, right? Like, you see all the mistakes you've made and everything from the past. You heard no echo, there was distortion everywhere. I found my ego. What is rubato? Rubato means stolen time, is often thought of something that is added on top of a performance to create expression. rather than an intrinsic part of it. So you saw your stolen time standing there. Interesting. So, what I'm understanding from this is that he is pondering, Darren, our main character, is pondering back on his life, realizing a lot of the mistakes he made kind of added up to a lot of things he did. Maybe not all the time, but he definitely had made mistakes. And he let go of his own ego, right? He stepped outside of himself and let go of his ego and saw, like, there's not much time left. Like, life is stolen time. It goes by faster than you'd think. And in that, he finds a transcendence to just kind of live in the moment, not necessarily dwell in the past and dwell on his own failures because it hurts his ego. He lets it go. It opens himself up once again. He was in a dark room. He was in this dark spot, but now he's going to shine a light in your eyes, and it will shine back on him because now he's stepped out of his own ego and is open to the world and bringing kind of this new idea to the people around him and this new kind of reformed morality in a way, finding this meaning. And this time he won't fall. This time he won't fail. Like, he'll know better. He'll heed the signs when things are going wrong because he know he can fail. He stepped out of his own ego. And there within he finds beauty in the world, not being so self-centered to himself. He leaves behind darkness, he leaves behind drugs, he leaves behind, like, the past, and embraces this new love of the world. He says, "Oh, glorious world, potent waves, valleys gone wild, connect us all to love, and keep us peaceful for a while." He opens himself up, he finds the beauty in the world, and is ready to open up to love again. A beautiful song of rebirth, of getting better, of really changing your mindset in a way, and leaving the past of the pain behind and growing from it and learning and stepping outside of your own ego to try and become a better person and try to live your life with as least pain as possible. So cool. Maybe I'm looking into this way too much, but, like, this is so cool, right? Okay. Track 7, Goodbye Albert. Oh, that's a green, obviously. It's like my favorite song of the year, right? Even based off of just like vibes and melancholy and sound alone, it was like my favorite song of the year. Now delving so deep into like this concept, this Darren character, and where he's coming from. If this isn't a concept album, I'm gonna feel like a douche. But I'm getting the vibe it is. So, Goodbye Albert. Kind of trippy, weird guitars.
Goodbye to you and me. Goodbye to the shallows like refugees. To you and me.
Once again, guitar work, great here.
You sat with me.
Graham Coxon. Those guitars are so, like, trippy, weirdly druggy. I'm here for it. Okay. I liked Goodbye Albert, but it felt a little more inessential, both as part of the story and musically. The song itself, to me, seemed to be about just kind of that next step that came from the Narcissist, where he kind of starts to step outside of himself and finds that new light, right? And now is him just kind of leaving things in the past. Talks about, I was goodbye depression parade like a weather front at dawn, it could fade. I was crushed by sleep and unraveled dreams, washed away for hours. I'd be there, not just send flowers, but I think you'd rather let it go, right? It's about just leaving it in the past, right? And letting go of that past pain to be, like, grow as a person, like we were talking about in that last song. And musically, it was doing some cool things, too. It wasn't quite as standout as, like, The Narcissist or the Ballad or Barbaric, right? But it was still interesting with some of the trippy guitar things it did. So that gets the green. A little bit of a lighter green, but still the green. Anyway, next track is called Faraway Island, and we're almost done. This video is going to be so long. My apologies. The weird, like, Monty Python thing they're doing here with the organ is so Park Life. Like, it reminds me of the last song on Park Life, I think it is. It's also very Monty Python-esque. Like, it reminds me of, like, what plays at the end of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, if you know what I'm talking about. I've always connected... yeah.
It's on my mind as the light fades. What you doing tonight? Are you dancing?
Love the harpsichord. So cool. Feels so like... That's an interesting choice.
Further away from you, far away I miss you. I know you think I must be lost now, but I'm not.
It's getting very Gorillaz with like the synth and the harpsichord and all these different sounds coming in.
It's on my mind. We're away now, down, down into the shadow. I'm cut to pieces. I'm dancing alone with the moon and the white whale.
This album's been very literary so far. Of course, St. Charles Square, we had the references to like the Telltale Heart, the White Whale right there, of course, Moby Dick. And I think the whole record so far, like the character arc of Darren here has been very Tolstoyan in a way. Interesting. Maybe it's just because I'm reading so much Tolstoy lately. I have like that like switch in my brain on that I'm like interpreting this as something similar to that. But I really am getting that vibe out of here, and it's pretty great. Gorgeous string work throughout the whole record. Yeah, so that was a really nice song, a really sweet song. Of course, had some synth going on, the beautiful, lush, like, shimmering strings that have been on through this entire record. Just a gorgeous song. And lyrically here, once again, we've kind of got this reaching out to that person from the past, right? Where you're like, you know, you're kind of on my mind. Like, what are you doing? What are you up to? Even as I come away further from you and as I'm healing. And I do miss you, but I think I'm in a better place. So, Faraway Island, I miss you. I know you think I must be lost now, but I'm not anymore. So it's okay to still have these human emotions and the feeling of missing someone, but it's not this overwhelming dread and depression anymore. You've found meaning, you've found a path, you've kind of been reawoken in a way. So it's still okay to think about the past, but not to dwell on it so much. You're no longer lost, and you're doing okay. And that's what this kind of is. Like, I reach out to someone from the past and be like, hey, I'm doing okay. And that's nice. That's sweet. Also the shortest song on the album, which is always hype. No, it's not. The Everglades is shorter by a second. I lied. I'm a dirty liar. Anyway, that's a green. Next track, Avalon.
What's the point in building Avalon if you can't be happy when it's done?
Beautiful. I like the brass here. Something new for the record.
Doesn't seem a long time since the last one. Wishing I could still make you happy.
This is like kind of soulful. Right with the din-it, and the brass here. And that bass, it feels very soul inspired. Like that guitar, very soul, very like 70s AM, like almost maybe a little wingsy. I like it. I've loved the musical palette of this record so far. It's been so interesting. Of course, it's been very string heavy, but then these like drum machines and synths are here too. It was kind of similar with the Nearer the Fountain, the last Damon Albarn solo project, I think from 2021, 2022. Very similar here as it was there, very similar musical palette. But it's really interesting, really pretty, and a mashup of different sounds together that I really appreciate and I think is really pretty. And the piano work here is stellar on this song. And I love the song feels very different. It feels soulful. You can tell there's a change in the character because there's a change in the sound. I don't know what this song is about. Because Avalon's really thrown me for a loop. Because I didn't know what that was and I googled it. And it was something from Arthurian legend that some people think took place in Glastonbury, where the Glastonbury Music Festival is. Which is interesting, right? Because then it starts to step out of Darren and into Damon, and maybe there's not much of a difference between them. But I also have no idea what this song is about, because it talks about, like almost love coming back, right? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know what the song's about. It's really throwing me for a loop, which is really weird. Maybe it's almost about those foundations you build not being completely unshakable. And still a human aspect in it. Because it talks about, like, wishing it could still make you happy, torn apart somehow, must be the waves we were carried on, crashing on the shores of Avalon. Which is an Arthurian reference. Which is where Arthur is taken to recover from being gravely wounded. So maybe Avalon, the island, is a symbol for somewhere you go to heal. So you're taken away from this person, you're torn apart from them, but then you're found on the shores. You crash on the shores of Avalon. So you're departed from this person, but then that's when you start to heal in the future. And then maybe they kind of come back. Then gray painted aeroplanes fly over on their way to war. And I'm dialing in, I'm dialing out, there's darkness at my door. So those kind of dark thoughts creeping back in again. What's the point in painting Avalon if you can't be present when it's done? Who's in the veil again, picking up the app? I have no idea what this song is about. And this is the first song where I, haven't been able to grasp a theme. And haven't been able to, tie it to the character of Darren. Interesting. Let's see how it ends. Oh, that's a green, though. It was a very beautiful song. It was one of the prettiest on the record so far. I've kind of almost put the music on the backseat, which isn't something I usually do in these reviews, but I'm so interested by this, maybe character of Darren, and, what threads are going through so far, because I see a thread, I see a story. I probably look like a conspiracy theorist with, red string in the background tied to pictures, and this, but this is what I'm getting from it. It's been super fascinating so far, and if you think I'm crazy, subscribe. Anyway, The Heights. Ooh, immediately. Those dark acoustic guitars feel almost grungy. Just a little grungy. I like the kind of darker, richer sound here of the guitars.
Suppose I'm all out of heart. So did you.
I love what the electric guitar are doing too. It's so neat how it's just kind of going on. Ooh.
Through the coma in our lives, something so bright out there you can't even see it. Are we running out of time? Something so moment.
Those drums give so much power. Coming in here makes it feel like a closer. Loving the strings. Again, wonderful addition. This is a great album and a great song so far. I actually really feel like the closing thread here is there. Huh. That's quite the way to end the album, right? So, on this final note here, from what I get, is the final kind of conclusion that Darren comes to. Or Damon. Maybe they're the same character, right? So, the idea of to stop living in the past, right? It's what it says here. Suppose my own tonight, suppose I've got to get to the heights. Seeing through the coma in our lives, something so bright out there, you can't even see it. So, stopping living in the past, like we figured out before. Stop obsessing on the darkness and this heartbreak and this falling out with this one person. And looking to the future. And seeing a bright future. Maybe that future is salvation. I don't think there are religious themes in this record, because that was kind of dropped after the Everglades thing. God never really came back into it. More so like secular moral questions, like secular like growth and moving on. And instead of dwelling on the past and the pain, you learn to live in the moment. Are we running out of time? Something so momentary that you can't even feel it, and then something so momentary that you can only be it. So momentary. Are we running out of time? Is what it asks. But seeing through the coma in our life, something so bright out there you can't even see it. Are we running out of time? Something so momentary that you can only be it. So momentary. Leaving the past darkness behind. Seeing through it. Seeing past it. Looking to the future. And living in the moment. Right? Stop living in the past and living in the now. You know, life is only momentary, so enjoy it while you're here. Enjoy the moment. Live in the moment. Don't dwell in the past. And look forward to the future. Don't be so cynical, and maybe one day you'll come to your happy ending, and you'll, like, die surrounded by family, and maybe that was the ending, is... Okay, that's what I'm getting from it, is that he ends up, the final, like, note he leaves us on is... don't like dwell in the past. Live in the moment and enjoy the moment, because life is only momentary. Which leads us to the end of the album. That was wild. Okay. The Ballad of Darren is a record that has one of the most intricate character arcs and character studies for a character in a concept album I've really ever heard. Like, looking into the lyrics, that was a very tight story. And it wasn't even so much a story like events happening to a person. It was like the inner machinations of someone's mind. And it was the thought process and arc of change and the kind of moral thinking of change. And it wasn't quite as the same level as like a Tolstoy book or like a novel, right? But it has similar themes and similar changes to moral growing, I feel, and finding peace and finding meaning. So what I find this record to be is a man breaks up with a girl and kind of isn't very happy with his life as he goes down a darker path. And the memories of her haunt him, and the memories of his past haunt him. And he turns to like drug use, and he gets really sad. But sooner or not, he then searches for meaning and eventually finds it. Not necessarily in God, because the Everglades, we see him kind of look for this more religious, more salvation path, but then he doesn't find it to be like worth anything, like it's not for him. And meanwhile, he looks within himself instead of exterior on the narcissist, and then stepping outside of his own ego, learns from his mistakes of the past and grows as a person to then let go of the mistakes of the past and live in the moment and finding meaning in the moment instead of dwelling on the past, just living your life. That's so cool. Like, that's such a neat, tight character arc for this Darren character. And I wonder if this character, Darren, reflects Damon on the song Avalon, which ties to Glastonbury. Maybe that's a stretch, but it would be interesting if that's the moment that's like, it was actually me all along. Like, I'm the character. Like, this character is like a representative of, like, what I've gone through. Which is so interesting. Like, right, maybe I'm making all of this up. Like, this is just me pulling this out of my ass. Like, it's not here. But for the way I interpret it, it's really cool. And musically, it was so good, too, right? Like, you had beautiful strings and these swelling, like, sweeping, like, shimmering strings and parts that really gave you this, like, melancholic, introspective vibe, because that's what the whole record was going for. The only song I didn't like the sound of was St. Charles Square. Everything else was so gorgeous. This record's really good. I might change my mind on it later, but upon first listen, I gotta give this a 9, right? Like, this was so good. So tight. Such an interesting character arc. That I can't help but just give it a really high score. A 9. What did you think of this record? Thank you for watching. And I'll see you all next time.